This right here is the solution to one of the biggest annoyances I have with the proton pack. Let's fix it. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you again for tuning in and welcome back to Ghost One More Mod. Today I am resolving something that is quite an annoyance, and you quickly realize this once you start wearing the proton pack out and about. How much this loom and this hose gets caught on things, bumps into people, and the fact that it just kind of looks ridiculous how far this sits out. If I put the camera down here, if I measured from here to here, there's about 20 inches where this, it doesn't want to go back in. This is so stiff and straight and not flexible that this point to this point, it just sticks out over 20 inches from the proton pack, and it just bumps into people, whether it's other Ghostbusters that you're with, or if you're in a parade, or just spectators. It's easily to get snagged or hooked on something. And then the loom here it looks like HASLAB actually used some type of like real but low quality loom. So replacing this, but actually getting solid connection points and metal connection points and quick release connection points. I'm excited for all of this. This is from Tools and Talent Prop off Etsy, and this is a solderless kit. So if you don't have any soldering experience, doesn't matter. They give you the connection points to do this. It's gonna look daunting, it might sound daunting when I'm walking you through, but it's actually very simplistic, and I'm gonna guide you step by step all the way through. Let's go do it. First and foremost, just want to give a shout out to Tools and Talent for just awesome packaging. Like the box, that's pretty neat. Here's the part number. This will be the two-piece connector. So checking this out here, we have a sticker from them, a little note saying if you post on IG to tag them, they like seeing finished products, which I will definitely do that, and then some. And the parts included. Oh man. Here, wow. Look how coiled. Easily coiled. Hold on, let me grab my other hose real quick. Okay, so this is the stock hose. This, like, almost like a pole. So let's see how much this coils here. Well, look at that. I can't even. That. If you try to make a circle, yeah, that's how stiff that is compared to. Look at that. You can make multiple circles. So soft, nice soft touch material, extra flexible. This end is already done for us, which is nice, and I like this metal clip, feels solid. And this end is also already done for us, feels solid. So I'm just gonna put this aside real quick, getting back our bag. And inside here, looks like this will be the part that we replace on the proton pack on the bottom. I like this little rubber cap. Some people delete it, some people keep it. I am a fan of keeping it because I think it kind of gives a more rugged, realistic look to it. I may not be movie accurate, obviously, but, and also actual real protection for when the pack's not used. Got the wire lead, and then this is the solderless clip here, which you'll put the wire leads and then snap that down. Might be difficult to see, but you'll see there's little gold shark teeth in there, and that's what's going to clamp down on the wire to make that solderless connection, which makes it super simple. This will be for the neutrino wand end, or what is going to get attached to the sled. So you want to get the appropriate size metric hex key. We're going to take these 4 bolts off the proton pack. And carefully pull this out. And Sometimes there's a little bit of slack, sometimes there's not. So if you just pull carefully and slowly, it's usually a piece of tape inside the pack, so you can get just a little bit of slack, but don't pull too much. And when there's a decent amount of resistance, I would stop. But inside here, we're gonna get some snips and get as close as we can to the leads there of the red and black and snip that off. These hands down are my favorite snips like ever. They are not the cheapest, but they are extremely precise and extremely sharp, and they will make things flush and get you into extremely tight spots. So I'm going to get this as close as I can. There's the red, and there's the black. And we can put this to the side, or throw it away. You'll never use it again. And this part couldn't be simpler. We're gonna take this right here and our solderless connector. You're gonna see two holes at the top here. You're gonna feed them through those white holes and then snap this down. Obviously you wanna go red to red, black to black. All right, that looks like that's in there pretty good. And then squeeze down. In the instructions, it does say that you can use pliers just for extra security. I don't want to go too hard or too tight because this is plastic, but I felt like my squeeze was pretty solid, and just making sure that it doesn't give. It looks like it bit pretty good. So now we're just going to feed the excess wire back into the pack like this. The instructions do explicitly state that this clip is at the 12 o'clock position, which is this way since my pack is laying down. So we're gonna take the existing bolts that we removed, those hex bolts, we're gonna put them in. It does say that it's tight and it's not a perfect alignment, so you might have a screw or two that goes in just a little bit diagonal, but it's completely normal, completely okay. I will say I'm actually taking my sweet time going around. Instead of just doing one bolt at a time, I'm kind of just doing a little bit on each corner. And I feel like this has kind of prevented me from actually getting like one going in extremely diagonal. Yeah, I will say it is tight. You might hear a couple like creaks every once in a while, but they did say the instructions that it is tight. So I'm okay with that. And I'm getting to the point where I'm getting pretty good resistance, so I'm just gonna double check the tightness here, and then we'll be done on the proton pack side. That is very secure. All right, so at this point, what we need to do is score an area here so we can cut this out. You wanna be careful not to cut the wires while we do that just yet. So we just wanna kinda cut this out so we can see the wires were exposed so we can remove this sled. There we go. And I can see the wires now, and I have a decent amount of clearance, but I am still gonna take my time going slow here. All right, I feel like I'm free and clear. Oh, there's that black hiding there. There we go. Oh, look at that extra slack. Beautiful. So what we need to do now is remove this little nub piece here from this barrel. So I just need to trim some more off this. Luckily, these flush cutters that I have are coming in pretty clutch. I'm just kind of chipping away as I go and hoping I can get some leverage at some point. There we go. Okay. That was a decent amount of glue, and then what they do recommend is if there's any extra adhesive, get that off, whether that's your fingernail or a file. I might grab a file real quick and just do this properly. I didn't see that was a decent amount of glue, but I am pretty happy with this. Got that cleaned up, so now for the next step. All right, so at this point I am going to get rid of a little bit of this extra slack here, because eventually we're going to end up tucking that into this part here. So the least bundled up cable the better, but I also don't want to cut myself too close for comfort. I think in the instructions they say about 1.5 inches. So we're gonna just do that in case I need to go back and trim this again. And same thing as we did before, red to red, black to black. So black is gonna go in this channel. They'll go in that channel. And as always, we want them to stay in their channels. And squeeze that down good. And slight extra squeeze. Cool. All right. Theoretically, we can do a electronics test before we button things up, just to make sure electronically everything is good. So I'm going to do that now. Oh, that's a satisfying click. And this hose goes into proton pack. Nice, another nice satisfying click. And I gotta put the lid on so it will get power. Turn it on. All right, as they say, hold on to your butts. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. We have power. Beautiful. Successful test. So we can disconnect our hose, and the next thing to do is to put this together, super glue it, and then use the heat shrink wrap and a heat gun to adhere that. But first we want to make sure we have our alignment, and I'll show you the tip for that. All right, to ensure test fit before we super glue, what we've done is I've taken the wires, stuffed it into there, and then got this as centered as possible, this tab facing up, and then take 2 pieces of tape, whether it's just electrical tape or painter's tape, and because when you super glue this, you're going to want to put it back centered as possible again. So I'm just going to make 2 little straight marks, which will let me know what is centered and top. So I'm putting one there and one there. And that way when I take this apart, I put glue around this inner barrel, I will know how to center that back up. And if anything I've learned about super glue is always use less than you think you need. So that's for the top. I'm just going to rotate this ever so slightly, and I am almost running out. Give me one more squeeze here. And that would be good for the bottom. Rotate this back. And I'm going to line up those 2 lines. One thing to do is don't twist, because this is a separate piece and it will snap on you. So do not twist left and right, just kind of push together while still keeping that center line. Looking good there. I'm just going to take this tape off and take this tape off. Because after this dries, then we're going to apply the heat shrink, which we'll put over here. We'll get a heat gun do it the right way, and we will seal this up over this side right here. So I'm gonna set this aside, give this a couple hours to dry, and then we are so close. All right, in the garage, the super glue has dried, and I've taken the heat shrink and put it over this sled. I found it a little bit easier to go this way. And the whole point of this is to make sure that you get as close as you can, but without touching the ring where you would screw this into the neutrino wand. So you want to get it close to the edge, but you don't want it to, definitely don't want it to overlap, because then you won't be able to screw that. So as close as you can to that lip. And I will be using this Wagner heat gun. I use this a lot for my car projects, and I'll be using upcoming videos. Don't use a hairdryer. I've seen other people attempt to use a hairdryer and they fail. You'll quickly realize that this is a pretty thick piece of heat shrink, and you will just waste your time with a hairdryer. Maybe around the second hour, you'll figure out that you should get a heat gun. And honestly, this is one of the best bang for the bucks. I'll leave a link in the description below. It's about the price of a hairdryer, but its sole purpose is to apply massive amounts of heat. So we're gonna do that now, and I'm just gonna keep a close edge on that lip to make sure there's a gap. And this is on the low setting, by the way, and it is working out beautifully. And I'm just kind of continuously rotating this so I get a even adhesive to the tip. I think we nailed it. I have that gap that I want. This is free moving, rotates perfectly, pretty symmetrical. There's a little point where it goes down just a hair, but yeah, that is on there nice and good. All right, so as always, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna use for some of the weathering here. This is just chalkboard paint. I will leave a link in the description below. You'll probably want some rubber gloves, just kind of keep your hands clean and easier to clean up later on. Flathead screwdriver to pop this open. Some type of stirring stick. In this case, my handy dandy chopstick works just fine. As you can see, I've done some weathering before in the past. You'll want 2 cups, one to pour the paint in, and then one filled with water. And depending on what you're weathering, you'll use a different ratio. For clothing, about a 50-50, and then if you're doing something with metal or something, non-clothing material, then you can increase that ratio to maybe like 60 paint, 40 water, or maybe even up to 70 paint, 30 water. And that was still way too much, but that's okay. So just a little bit of that. Probably could have done much less, but I probably will be doing some other weathering things today on the side. And since we are working with metal, in other videos I've talked about with clothing, I do like a 50-50 ratio. With metal, it's more like 60-40 or 70-30. So this is my chalkboard paint. I'm gonna do about that much water and just give it a good stir. All right, first up, I'm gonna do the end on the sled. Be very careful about making sure you don't get anything near the pin connector. So I'm completely just doing the outside of the ring here and like the little flange there for the push. But I'm not gonna do anything on this black area. I wanna keep away from those 2 pins. So I got my I've got my small brush to apply the paint, and then on standby, I have a wider dry one to clean up any runs or to do final blending. So I'll put that to the side, get my small one, and always dab off the excess. And here we go. Nice. And you'll see there's some blotches, but that's what the dry brush is for, where we'll finally do some final blending. Thing I, want to give this look is, this is a part that would naturally be grimy and greasy because this is the quick disconnect. So you're out busting ghosts, you're not going to have clean hands or clean gloves when you're connecting and disconnecting your hose. So I want to make sure I get this nice and greased up here. And at this point, we're really just kind of getting some of the bright metal look off and just kind of giving it a slight more brushed look, just as if it's been used quite a bit. Really just looking to get this outer ring looking grimed up here. Really want to get that flange tarnished. The inside's not going to matter so much because it's going to kind of get, covered when it's connected. So not overly obsessed about that, but really just this flange. Want to gunk it up good. There we go. It's looking a lot more duller now, which is good. I'm happy with that. Not going to overdo it. Let's put that aside and start working on the hose. This is pretty easy because we're not messing around really with anything other than this metal push tab. So it's time to gunk that up. And I might go against what I normally do and go a little heavier than I want on this side, because this is with the hose. This is going to be closest to the proton pack. I feel like this would get gunked up. Hangs low near your leg. So I might really go ham with this one. Maybe. We'll see. I think I'm going to leave it there. So you can see this side's a little drier, and this side is still drying a little bit more. Last but not least, the end for the proton pack. And here we go. I'm gonna get those screws nice and tarnished. Just staying away from the connectors and any inside part. And I think we are close to just doing a little final blending in here. All right. This looks pretty worn. I think I am pretty darn happy with that. As you can see, it looks pretty tarnished. It looks like if you were going to have a proton stream come out of a proton pack, that this would probably be a hot point, and a lot of heat exposed to it. So it is, I mean, it was at one point as shiny as this, if you remember, and now we've got that looked pretty dulled up. So that looks like proper usage to me. Anyway, let's go back inside. Ladies and gents, I present to you the final product of the hose upgrade and the weathering. I'm just incredibly happy with these connection points. I love the weathering, just giving it that, not brand new shiny look, even though that is completely okay the way it comes from Tools and Talent Props, because they're giving you a brand new, very high quality product. But just to kind of make it my own personal touch, that weathering, and it just kind of makes that also that push stand out a little bit more. It gets some of that chalkboard paint grit in there, and makes that push pop, and then just a little bit of tarnishing too. So really happy with that. The loom is just awesome quality. It's so much more flexible. I just overall like the way that it flows, and now that this just lays, it doesn't stick out. Yeah. And then this right here turned out amazing too. The way that push stands out, and the way there's almost like a little bit of a worn look from your thumb. Really happy with that. Almost looks like it's been used a bunch of times and it's slightly worn here. And then on the edges, it still has some of that like grime, grease look to it. This turned out so freaking good. Just the wear and the fact that it's quick disconnect. This has to be one of the most gratifying mods that I've done. There are some mods that we do for fun, or there's some mods that we do for aesthetics, or some mods that we do for functionality. But this one, it's like, not only was it enjoyable to do, and it was not nerve-wracking, it was enjoyable to do. Aesthetically, it just makes everything look better, more realistic, and the functionality, like, mwah, like, it's a win-win-win. Big shout out to Tools and Talent Props. They have a really cool Etsy shop, and I highly recommend them. I can see myself buying more and more things from them, but I'm just overall like excited to wear the pack again, and you know, to have this more realistic look and not to bump into things or get things snagged on, have solid connection points. The quick disconnect will be easier to set up, will be easier to break down. It is the fun factor, it is the aesthetic factor, and it is the functionality factor, so it is a win-win-win. So that's it for today's video. Let me know what you think, leave a comment. If you have any questions about the install, hit me up. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't done already, please subscribe. Catch you guys next time. Out.